On the go? So are we. Get the IBJ Media app, your all-in-one news source for Indiana business news. Get breaking news alerts, read every story from IBJ, Inside Indiana Business, and the Indiana Lawyer, and listen to your favorite podcasts all in one place. Big news, small screen. Search IBJ Media and download the app today.
This is the IBJ Podcast for the week of Monday, February 23rd, 2026, brought to you by Taft. I'm your host, Mason King. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. The canned cocktail known as Mom Water, created by a husband and wife team in a small town, sounds like one of the purest mom and pop success stories in Indiana history. The only part of the narrative that doesn't seem to fit is that Mom Water doesn't pop, per se. It's non-carbonated, which initially set it apart from all the seltzers in the canned alcoholic beverage market. Jill and Bryce Morrison created the beverage and the brand several years ago, and it hit the shelves of a few local retailers in March 2021. It is now available in 40 states. Last year, Mom Water sold about 925,000 cases of its beverages, which include the slightly newer brand, Dad Water. As the Morrisons tell the story, they didn't set out to make this their careers, but Mom Water's quick success persuaded them they needed to quit their day jobs. A couple of years later, Bryce decided that in order for the company to reach its potential, he needed to step aside as CEO and install a new chief executive to handle day-to-day operations, while he and Jill looked at the bigger picture while also gathering input from customers face-to-face. They are our guests on the podcast this week, and as they tell it, they're more of a seat-of-your-pants style company run by gut hunches than one that invests in megabytes of market research. They also discuss the leap of faith they took in their product, the wisdom in handing over the reins for the good of the company, and the creation of their new product based on unsweetened tea. Here's our conversation. It's my pleasure to welcome to the podcast Jill and Bryce Morrison, the founders of Mom Water. Thank you for making time for a conversation today.
Absolutely. We're happy to be here. Thanks for having us on.
So we're talking over Zoom today. I'm in the IBJ Podcast studio, and you guys are in Ferdinand, Indiana, correct?
That's correct. Mom Water headquarters, which is our home.
There you go. I'm kind of a connoisseur of small Indiana towns, but I've never been to Ferdinand. You guys are pretty close to Evansville, is that right?
Yeah, we're Clay. If you know where Jasper's at or Holiday World. So if you know where Holiday World, Santa Claus is, we're 10 minutes from Holiday World.
Okay. How many people live in Ferdinand?
What is it? You grew up here. I think it's like, I want to say somewhere around 3,000, maybe 3,000 or 4,000.
4,000.
Yeah,
Okay.
3,000 or 4,000 people. Probably.
What's it like?
Quiet, which is why we like it. Honestly, Ferdinand's awesome. It's a small, quaint little town. We've got just enough restaurants, but most of the time, if you're wanting to do something really fun, you don't have to drive very far to get there. But you could also get away from it here. So the big landmark here is the monastery. Sisters of St. Benedict have a monastery that sits here that everyone should have to see at some point because it's pretty impressive. Yeah,
I was sort of Facebook stalking your city, and I saw pictures of it. It is beautiful. It's amazing.
It is. It's like, and it's a sight to behold. That building is so out of place that it's like, wow, it's impressive. Yeah.
So Jill, you grew up in Ferdinand.
I grew up technically in St. Anthony, an even smaller town, but went to high school in Ferdinand.
Okay, great. And then Bryce, where did you grow up?
I was a South Raider. I went to Huntingburg. So just really close by. Colson Montgomery's hometown.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then how did you guys end up just deciding to stay in Ferdinand?
Essentially, a long time ago, it was based on our kids moving over here for the school district. And then once they were of school age, we bought here and purchased land and built here.
Yeah, we had a few spots in school corps. We're like, oh, these would all be good. And we just happened to find land over here really early. We didn't build at that point, but we thought, well, if we're eventually going to be here, then we should probably try to find a home over here and start our kids in school system.
Okay, great. And you have 3 kids.
That's right.
Okay. So for folks who don't know the story, I'm going to take us back to 2018. What were you guys doing at the time?
I was a OT managing in the healthcare world.
Yeah, she worked for a local nursing home. So I actually worked for a hospice, Heart to Heart Hospice here in Indiana. I helped start an office with a few other folks, and my job revolved more in the marketing wing of things for Heart to Heart.
Right. So you take a vacation in the Dominican Republic, and Jill finds that she really likes the passion fruit water from the hotel. What happens from there?
Well, rewind a couple of days, I was so sick of the sugary drinks, which is when I discovered the passion fruit water. And then from that point forward, I told him, I said, I'm going to stop drinking everything else that makes me feel like crap. And I'm now going to drink this passion fruit water. So I just asked the bartenders to just give me a little shot. And that's what I drank the rest of the week. Then came back to the States and realized I didn't want to stop doing that because it made me feel a lot better. So hydrating in the process.
Okay.
So I started homemaking my own version of that.
Yeah, the seltzers were breaking out that year. If you remember, 2018 was kind of the year of the seltzer. And so everyone was coming out with one. And that's what all the women were drinking around our pool. But then at the end of the day, they all kind of felt the same, which was terrible. They bloated and, headache, and you're dehydrated. And so that's when Jill was like, what if we do that stuff I was doing down in the Dominican? And she started just making it in little Dasani water bottles. And she started having to scribble mom on all of them because our kids couldn't discern a regular Dasani from one of Jill's little special Dasanis. So
You kept calling them landmines.
yeah, it was like the lamp. They were in our cooler and our fridge. You just never know. You like kids, you always need to is it sealed or not? If it's not sealed, then.
So I started scribbling mom on all of mine with a magic marker. And if it had mom on it, it was mine. That's how they knew.
Her friends coined the term, it was Jill's mom water, because she was always seen drinking out of a Dasani or something with mom on it.
So here's the point where a lot of people are going to say, well, okay, this is great. I can find fruit water and I can mix it with vodka. I'm good. So what impelled you to try to make something more out of it?
So we had done this for several weekends, call it 6 months for a year. I would do that exact thing. But then we'd go on a boat. I'm like, well, I'm not taking my glass bottle of vodka on the boat or wherever we were going. It was just a pain in the butt. So I looked at him one day and said, I wish we could just get these ready to go in a can. And he kind of laughed at me.
Yeah. I mean, she was like, well, it doesn't exist in the marketplace, because she tried looking everywhere. She'd go into liquor stores and then she's like, and all my friends like it. So it's kind of popular and it has all these benefits, and we could call it mom water because that's what all my friends have been calling it. And I was like, that all sounds amazing. But no, it just seemed like such a pipe dream at the time. Like we didn't have entrepreneurship experience. We didn't necessarily have the funds to go out and just throw into this project, and we knew nothing about the alcohol world, legitimately nothing. So it just seemed far-fetched. And so it took her about 9 months to a year to convince me. And I think it was a day where me and some of the guys were being driven home by one of her friends, one of the moms, after a day of golf and probably having too many mom waters. And she just said the word mom water in reference to it. And it just hit my ears different that day. And I'm like, man, I really can see that on the shelf somewhere. And so I remember coming home, I was like, okay, let's do a little digging at least, and let's see, is this feasible or not?
Yeah. So how do you do that kind of digging? Where is that information available?
Oh man, honestly, networking. That's one thing that I'm pretty good at, is networking. I was used to being in sales and marketing. I talk to people. I'm never without words. You could ask Jill. I can talk. And so I just started, the only thing in the alcohol world that I was familiar with, I was a big bourbon guy, and me and 4 other guys started a bourbon group down in this area. So we knew a few store owners, and I knew a couple distillers. And so I just went to them first and kind of pitched the idea to try to start learning if we could do something with it. And one thing would lead to another. I'd meet this person. They'd tell me this guy. I'd call them. And then finally got put in touch with a agency called Flavor Man out of Louisville, Kentucky. And they help with beverage development. And so we were like, well, okay, cool. That seemed like it was going to be the biggest obstacle at the time, was just finding somebody to help us formulate it. That ended up being the easiest thing. But at the time, that was our first real breakthrough and step of saying, okay, we could actually see this might be feasible at the time. So,
okay. And then how do you get to being able to go to your local liquor store and seeing it on your shelf?
That was a lot bigger process.
Yeah.
So we kicked off a project with Flavor Man in January of 2020. And it only took 3 months really to formulate it. They're very quick and efficient. And we kind of knew what we wanted. At the same time, we were working with a graphic designer that was a friend, and trying to work on some can designs and logos. At that time, no joke, we didn't even realize we needed a distributor to distribute alcohol in the state. We were so ignorant to this that we were like, why can't we just sell it to stores? And so then instead of having a distributor lined up, we started having those conversations again through networking, was able to find a distributor that said, we'd pick it up, but you have to go out and pretty much pre-sell it in all these stores. I said, no problem. So I'd do that. And then once they agreed to bring it up and we had these things, well, we were trying to find a place to make the product. And the problem with that was back then, number one, skinny cans weren't as prevalent as they are now. Most cans are carbonated. And to pressurize a can, you need, without carbonation, you need what's called a nitro doser. So they use nitrogen to pressurize a can. Not a lot of folks were doing uncarbonate at the time. So that also narrowed who we could use. And then it came to like the only places we could find were these massive places that we couldn't afford to run there. And so we finally found, and by the way, this is all during COVID. So all the smaller places stopped hiring and bringing on new clients, and they started making hand sanitizer. If you remember that, all these
for
little
sure.
distilleries, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a process, and it took us over half a year to even find someone to make it. We finally did, and we scheduled our first run, and we were able to sell our first case in March of 21.
Wow. If you had to guess, like how much did you have to invest just to get it off the ground?
If you count the first order, like the formulation was pretty easy. And then it was just like a lot of, blood, sweat, and tears, right? We had a friend that was doing the graphic design for us, so it didn't cost us an arm and a leg. We had a few legal fees here and there. When the order started coming in, like the cost of goods and everything, that was when really it was more. So we had like a second mortgage on our home. The initial investment really to just get it to the market was probably less than $75,000, but it was still a lot. But to get it to the market. Now, after that, like, especially as we were growing, we found out real quick that growth is also could be a problem, not just a great thing. And so, that's when we had to start, we opened up a small business loan and we were just trying to that thing got maxed out pretty quick, but we also started to see that we were starting to slowly make money and we were working still full time at this point and just doing this on our off hours. And so pretty much all of our paychecks were just kind of going back into it. And we started noticing less and less of our paychecks are having to go there. So this is kind of working. So yeah.
Okay. And you had to take out a second mortgage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So this is really interesting. And you've probably talked to people about this a lot. So you start with 4 flavors, but you name them after people. So you had Julie, the passion fruit, Linda, the blueberry, Sandy, coconut mango, Karen, lemon blueberry. This sounds to me like something that a corporation would never do.
Yeah.
Because it's too
exactly
weird. Right. There are too many opportunities to, make somebody angry.
Yep.
So, I mean, that to me was like just one of the great like grassroots plays that you could make that probably set your product apart, I would imagine.
Very much so. And at the time, it was even I was going back and forth with myself because I'm more right brain, so I'm very creative. I'm not as much on the organized side of things, but I'm very creative. And so when we finally decided to do this, that was one of the first things. Is I was kind of visualizing this in my head, and I was like, you know what? We want this to be about motherhood. We want it to be about moms. They don't have a product to call their own, and that's the whole reason that it exists. And so, how do we celebrate that? And that was the whole intent. And I was like, well, then our flavors shouldn't be about the flavor as much as they should be about a personality. So what if we put mom names on all these cans, and that would be fun. But I don't want it to come off as campy. And like you said, it's probably going to open us up to all of these other reasons for people to, they don't know who we are. They don't know our intent. And so at the end of the day, a few people were like, I think it's a great idea. And it was just enough to convince me. I'm like, okay, then let's roll with that. And it ended up being one of the better things that we probably did early on. It really hit home when one of our distributor partners was like, we've actually never seen anyone create a brand within a brand. And that's kind of what you all have done is you've created a brand within a brand. And so, yeah, it turned out it worked great, but it was a risk and didn't come without its, bumps and bruises along the way.
Yeah. So at the time, was Karen, did that have the same connotation that it has right now?
No, we beat that by what? few months.
months.
If you think about COVID, that's when the Karen meme became a meme, right? Was during COVID. And we chose this name in January of 2020 when COVID wasn't here yet. It didn't hit till March or April. So when it hit, we sunk all of our money. We had the labels designed. We had everything done. And if we changed the name, we have to go redo that. And we're like, we're out of money. Yeah. We don't have any money. So we just kind of like, let's roll with it. And we'll try to be nice to the Karens because they've had a bit of a rough go. So we did.
Right. And you stuck with it.
We did.
Yeah, yep. Which is impressive. I mean,
we actually had Karens thanking us because we weren't playing up the meme. Yeah. We legitimately just had a Karen on the can and people were like, thank you for doing something nice for us. So
you have other products now that have human names. Did you ever consider naming them after family members or kids or anything like that? Or were these just kind of plucked out of the air?
So we do have some family members on the cans.
Yeah.
So Kathy is his mom. She is blackberry lime, the purple can.
Okay.
Louise is my mom, citrus cucumber. She's the limited release that came out last summer.
Yeah. So. We have our partners. His mom name is Mary. His wife's mom was Carol. So these are some of like in our second variety pack that we came out with. So the first one that you had read off there was our original one. We had our second one come out a couple years ago and we're like, how do we put a more personal touch on this? Well, we should put, instead of our names, we didn't want our names on a can. We're like, we should put our mom's and dad's names. So on the dad water flavors are our dads. You know, got Tom as her dad, Gary's my dad. And then you have some of the mom water flavors are also now named after our moms. Okay. So we try to put a more personal touch on.
Okay, let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsor. This is the IBJ Podcast.
Taft, today's modern law firm. At Taft, we cultivate a highly respectful, transparent workplace that fosters creativity, teamwork, inclusion, and diversity. We couple our culture with a client-first approach, rewarding lawyers who understand their clients' goals and work to deliver success. Taft, the modern law firm. To learn more, visit taftlaw.com.
Spring is coming, and that means it's time to bring your backyard back to life. At Indie Grills, we design and build custom outdoor living spaces that turn your patio into the best room of the house. From stamped concrete patios to cozy outdoor fireplaces to fully custom outdoor kitchens built for grilling, gathering, and entertaining, we do it all. We handle everything from design to build, and we're known for doing it one way. Built fast, built right, on time, and on budget. So before summer fills up, start now. Visit indiegrills.com and schedule your outdoor living consultation today. Indie Grills. This is where spring begins.
All right, we're back with this week's edition of the IBJ Podcast. In my interview with Jill and Bryce Morrison about creating mom water and the challenges that come with growth. So in March 2021, your first 2 points of sale were Bob's Liquors, in Ferdinand, and then in Holland, which is an even smaller town, about 10 miles away. I'm just curious, what was the connection with Bob's Liquors?
It was just locally here. I kind of knew the owners a little bit at the time, but it was mostly like just me going in because I was having to pre-sell this stuff at the time. And so, it was Jasper. There was some liquor stores over there owned by some folks that I knew that were actually in my bourbon club. And then the same with Bob's. I kind of knew who they were. And I'm like, listen, we're local. Will you at least give us a shot? Well, because we were local from Dubois County, they gave us a shot. And yeah, it was kind of off to the races. And then every time that we would have a reorder, we'd start to see these other accounts that were not here. It'd be in like Batesville and Indy. And I'm like, well, we don't know people up there yet. They're still ordering this stuff and it's selling. So there's something going on here. It's not just friends and family buying it.
Yeah. So on the first day that it was on the shelves, did you go to both liquor stores and just be like, hey, here's our product?
We did go to we parked in Bob's liquor store for a while.
Yeah.
Just watched.
I think we just hung out. We're like, I'm just curious, like what,
Like, are people actually going to go in and buy it? We just wanted the visual. And
I think we still had a video or something of me going in and being like, look at this. It's on the shelf. Like, it was a huge deal for us, obviously, to get at that point because most people didn't realize we were even doing it, honestly. Mm-hmm. Our parents thought we were nuts. Our siblings, who a lot of them are employed by us now, thought we were nuts. And, we were like, look, it's on the shelf. Now, will it sell? We didn't care. We were just like, it's on the shelf. We did it. Jill can now buy it. She doesn't have to make it. So,
okay. And so pretty quickly, I mean, like you say, you were noticing sales from elsewhere in Indiana. And then you also became available in Kentucky within about a month or so.
Yes.
And to the point you kind of made earlier, it's just not as easy as like the truck driving over the bridge. I mean, it's a whole other ball of wax just going to a different state.
Yes. And really where that came about was two reasons. Number one, we got introduced to a distributor there. It was RNDC at the time. And they had a few folks that really liked and believed in the product. And they were kind of like, we would love to open it here in Kentucky. And at the same time, we have these big orders that we're having to produce and we're hoping we're going to sell them. So our thinking was, I just want to make sure we're selling through this so that we're not sitting on all this money because we don't have the money. And so we ended up saying, well, let's go ahead and open Kentucky at the same time. So we did. And then like the rest of that year, we were pretty much out of stock almost all year. We couldn't keep up. And so it ended up almost like hurting us to a degree because we didn't have enough inventory.
Yeah. So by the fall of 2021, you were so confident that you both quit your jobs.
Yes. That's when our partner came on board. We had people in the industry. We had him and other folks that were like, I wouldn't sit around. We were probably a little more conservative minded and going, well, why don't we just get this real profitable and then we'll slowly expand and do this. And everybody else was like, you guys have lightning in a bottle. And that doesn't happen often in this industry, especially. I would run with it. I mean, we didn't just have a new drink. We have an entirely new category of alcohol, which is we're calling spirit water, right? It just didn't exist. And so everybody that is the first to a category usually, benefits from that in some way. So that's kind of what convinced us. And then when he came on, bought into the company, it was like, you guys probably should think about quitting your jobs because we got a lot of work to do. And that's kind of what started, I guess, that process.
How does that feel? Speaking to somebody who has never quit a job.
Terrifying and liberating all at the same time. What did you ask me the first time we quit?
I cried and asked him who's paying me.
Like, how do we get paid again? I'm like, well.
He's like, we're paying us. Like, how does that even work?
Yep.
I'd been paid by a corporate world for 20 years. I had no idea anything else.
That was the biggest, like, it wasn't the biggest risk to us wasn't starting the project. We're like, listen, if this goes to fault or whatever, like, hey, we can somehow get out of it. It's not that big of a deal because we have these other jobs and they were good jobs. When we quit though, and we're like, okay, we're giving up the things that we have worked in and around for all of our life. And it's the only thing we knew. Now it's a lot more, it's a bigger deal. And that was like, okay, well, we're doing this. Like we kind of looked at each other like, guess we're doing it. Like, here we go.
So we did a feature, meaning IBJ did a feature on you guys, I think midway through 2022. And at that time you were projecting, going from selling about 40,000 cases the first year to 1 million in the second year. Did you get to the 1 million?
We've learned a lot in the industry. And number one is like, seeing the success early in year one kind of gave us a little bit of, I'll say, a false sense of like how easy it is to grow. Because what happened after that was, since that period of time, the beer industry is in decline, the wine industry, all of spirits or all of alcohol in general is in decline other than one category. And that's the one that we're in, which is now the most popular category, which means, in our category is technically the liquor-based canned drinks. So like White Claw is considered a beer. That they don't compete with us. They pay less taxes. They're going to be less expensive. High Noon is kind of the king of our category. And so that category, since that period of time until now, has just gone crazy. So what that means, like, it went from not much competition out there, honestly, to the most competition probably in the entire industry. And everyone is throwing all their marketing dollars at it. So it just became harder and harder to stand out, especially the further we got away. So we went like, 40,000 cases to like 400,000 cases, like 700,000. And last year we did right around 900,000. And this year we're projected to do over 1 million, or right around 1 million or over. We'll see with the new innovation we've got.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you, in 2023, developed Dad Water, which now that I think about it, seems like the obvious place to go. But was it necessarily the obvious place to go? Why did you decide to open that up?
We kind of did it reluctantly. It was mostly we just had people kind of ingest would ask us, where's dad water?
Yeah.
And we'd make a joke about it and say it's called beer or bourbon or whatever. And then we kind of started thinking about it and thought, well, we should probably at least file for a trademark on dad water to protect it so somebody else isn't going to make it. And then that turned into, well, is there something here? Should we look at it? And if so, what would it look like? And we love to be creative. We love to be innovative. And it just kind of came down to, tequila was really starting to gain in popularity, especially with the younger audience. And so we thought, nobody's really done a really good tequila drink. They're either a heavily flavored and sugared margarita, or they're trying to add carbonation to it in a ranch water. But if you like tequila and you drink it, most people are not drinking it carbonated or with a lot of additives. They like pure tequila. They like a little flavor. So we thought maybe this will work in a water form, just like mom water. But that's the difference, is maybe we try to use tequila and go a little retro. Mom water's the more feminine brand, dad water being a little more of the masculine brand. And let's see. So that's how that kind of came up.
Yeah, I was curious. To the extent that you were doing marketing, you market them differently, I suppose, but maybe not that much differently.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of crossover. I mean, there's a lot of women that really like dad water because they love tequila. And there's a lot of guys that love mom water because they love vodka. And so we thought that's kind of the fun, because if you're if you're married, husband, wife, the dynamic that's in the house is always kind of fun and quirky. We all have we make fun of each other for the things that we aren't alike for. And so even in the brands, and Jess can kind of have fun and play off of one another is kind of the thinking behind it.
So then I want to go back the summer 2023. You guys announced that Bryce, you're the company's CEO, that you would step away from the day-to-day operations, and that Kara Woolsey, who is your sister, would be promoted from COO to CEO. And in addition, Adam Bramas, who is Jill's brother, would be promoted to COO. And Jill, did you step away from any particular formal role at that time?
No, I was always,
you were as the chief mom officer.
I was always chief mom officer. Those who know me know that I would never, ever, ever make a good CEO. We did not want me in that role for the betterment of the company.
So what was your thinking? Why was it necessary to take on different roles from the traditional sort of like CEO role?
I think there was probably two main factors. The first was, and I think that everyone should have to be a little introspective and when they're in their job and go, yeah, I'm a CEO. And I think there can be a lot of ego and other things that come with that. But am I the best person potentially to be the CEO? And that was a big part of it was, I'm very creative and if it comes to brainstorming and coming up with ideas and out of the box thinking, I'll be up there with anybody. But when it comes to organization and all of the other things that come along with being part of that CEO, and that is what is a struggle for me. Not that I can't do it, but it's more of a struggle. My sister Kara is brilliant and she does all of those things so much better. She has the creativity side. She is super organized. She is super eloquent. Like in essence, she's a better fit for CEO. And that was a big part of it, was going, I know that I think we can be more successful with Kara in that role than me in that role. And it's not that I'm not involved, but she's better at that. And then it was also at the same time mixed with Jill and I saw our jobs slowly morphing from sitting on calls all day long and being there to go, hey, we need you to come and meet these distributors. Can you come to this country fest and just be there and do this and that? Like, to try to be more of the face of the brand and to, we love being, we say we're genuine, passionate, and selfless. That's all mom water. And we hire the best of people. And so we're like, the more that we're out in front of people, making connections and the fans and the consumers, the better for the brand that it is. So taking those two factors into account, it was a pretty easy step back for me. And because it's really it's more of a sidestep because we're still involved in everything. We're still on almost all the calls. It's just that it allows us flexibility now to be able to go and do the things we need to that are probably more important for us. And it puts someone that's better qualified to be a CEO in our CEO role.
Got it. So when you were able to sort of step 2 steps to the right or to the left, and have a different perspective on the company, did you see anything different? Was there anything that surprised you?
Not different. I think just seeing Kara flourish in the role was, because what we didn't want to feel like she's getting the job because she's my sister, because it really wasn't the case. We thought, well, that's nice from a story perspective, because that way if she's somewhere talking, she's like, well, the owners, the founders, whatever are my, that's my sibling. But really it was like, so our partner, John, was like, I want you to be able to make this decision very agnostically. And at the time we had a bit of an advisory board. We had her going for a bit because I didn't want her to feel that she got the job because of that. And I didn't want, everyone else to feel that way too. So we went about it the right way. And then just seeing her in the role, it didn't take long for me to figure out that it was definitely the right choice. She has the ability again to just, think things very critically, think it through very logically. And she's also just super organized, like deadline wise, everything else. Like she just does an amazing job.
Mm-hmm. So in how many states do retailers sell your goods now?
I believe it's 40, might be 41. I have to look because we're getting ready to maybe open one more state this year. And last year, because we kind of count Pennsylvania, there's some states that are called control states where the government kind of controls everything. And Alabama and Pennsylvania are the two newest ones that we opened. Pennsylvania was kind of last year was a special order, and this year now we're in full distribution, whereas Alabama is full distribution. So yeah, it's about 40 states.
Okay. Are you at the point where you would do national advertising or national marketing? I'm not exactly sure how that stuff works other than knowing that when I see commercials on television. So
I know. It's funny. We talk about this a lot because we do a lot of, we'll say national, advertising. We're running ads in California. We're running ads in Florida, Texas. We also have a fleet of cars now that are all branded. So a lot of our sales reps in those states, we have billboards in states. The TV advertising is the one that we haven't really pulled the trigger on a big national one yet because it is so expensive. And a lot of folks, especially our audience, they're on social media, and it's just a more efficient way right now to reach them. It makes our dollar go a little bit further. Will it be a point in time? 100%. Like, will you see a mom water ad during like The Bachelorette or something? Probably. We want to do that. We just want to make sure it's right. And we want to make sure that our distribution is in enough places to where when somebody sees the ad, they can immediately go to a local bar, restaurant, or store and find it. And we're getting there. We're pretty good on the store side, but we're really trying to get in more bars and restaurants.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So how many employees do you have now?
We also have 40. Our son, our oldest son is actually our newest employee. So yeah, we're right at 40 employees.
Oh my gosh. How old are your kids now?
Wait, you go ahead. You get this one.
I don't talk much if you haven't.
I'll give her the easy one.
By nature, I'm not a talker. I don't need to be. Trajan is 21. He's our oldest. And then Jalen, our middle son, is, 19 now? And then Kenna is 15. Freshman in high school.
Great.
Yep.
So you have, you are in the midst of launching a new product now. Tell me about that and how you came to develop it.
So yeah, we've been working on this for a long time. In addition to, we'll have some additional mom water announcements coming up here shortly. But the ones that we have announced already, it's the first ever that we know of national unsweetened vodka teas. And so the way this for us was, we know that mom water is not going to be everyone's cup of tea. Sometimes you even have to develop a bit of a palate for it. I compare it to dry wine, where, a lot of people, they all start on sweet wine. They eventually make their way to dry. They usually don't go back the other way. We're kind of the dry wine of the RTD world. So you're on a lot of the sweet things. And then at some point, if you were like, I'm going to try these things, and you give them a shot, you're like, okay, they don't have a lot of flavor, but you understand later that night or even the next morning when you wake up, you're like, okay, I get it now. Like, these were just so easy and I don't feel terrible. And a lot of people, when they get onto them, they love them and they become a big fan. So we thought, well, what can we do that might be able to draw a few more people in, but also stay true to ourselves? Because we want to be a better for you. Like, that's a big deal for us. We don't use any preservatives. We're all natural, and we don't use sweeteners in our existing products. And so it's like, how can we take what mom water is, but maybe make it to where some of these folks that want to like it, they just don't, might like it. And so teas were obviously really popular at the time. And when we started looking at it, we're like, well, but a sweet tea wouldn't make sense for us. That's not mom water. So what could we do? And so we were like, well, a lot of people drink unsweet tea. Like if you actually look at it in the market, then you know, ask AI, ask anything, look the statistics. It's as high as 75% of all tea drinkers in the United States drink unsweet tea, right? So if you go to a restaurant and you say, I'll take a tea, what's the first thing they ask you? You want sweet or unsweet, which means every restaurant in the United States has both options. Every convenience store, every grocery store, and every liquor store has one option, which is sweet. So we're like, you would think that this would make sense, but in the alcohol world, a lot of folks are, to your point, on the corporate side, they're doing marketing studies. The easy sell is the sweet, flavorful things with artificial things in it so that it's cheaper to produce and so that it has tons of big flavor. We're kind of the opposite. We want drinkability and we want something that tastes very natural. So yes, we have released, it's going to be in like 13, maybe 14 of our existing states. So we're trying to we want to slow roll it a little bit. And they are unsweetened vodka iced teas. It's a variety pack, an 8-pack, and there's a classic flavor, which is Jenny. There's a peach, which is Katie. There's a strawberry tea, which is Lisa. And then Nikki is raspberry tea. So, and they're all unsweet. There's no sweetener. And to my knowledge, we're also still the only alcohol company that we know of in existence that we put every one of our ingredients on the can, not just our statistics. We actually put what's in it because we think transparency needs to be more prevalent probably in the alcohol world.
Yeah. And to your point, I forgot to ask you that at the beginning. I mean, part of the modus operandi, part of the identity is it's very simple. You have in the original product, you have 4 ingredients.
Yes. 4 ingredients, and we're not adding things in it just for margins. That's not what this wasn't we weren't getting in this, honestly, to make it a career and or make a lot of money. That's not what we've invested everything back into the company. We got into this so that Jill wouldn't have to be making these things poolside. That's legitimately the way that we were thinking about it early on.
And in the very, very beginning, I don't remember exactly what time frame, they asked, well, we can make this at such and such location, but we would have to put a chemical in it. And I said, nope, it's out. I don't want any weird named chemicals in the drink. And we've kind of stuck with that.
Yeah, we pasteurize everything. There's other things that can mimic pasteurization, that places would do. And we're like, it's got a chemical name to it. And yes, we don't have to put it on the label or whatever, but no, it just doesn't. We want to feel good. If we feel good about drinking it, then everyone else will, is kind of our, if our standards hold up, everyone else should be fine because our standards are going to be a little bit higher for what we want.
So for, it's called Best Teas,
the Best Teas.
The Best Teas. Okay. So for Best Teas, the way you described it almost kind of sounded like, well, this is kind of my gut. I think that people would like this. Was there any kind of market research that went into this? Or were you like, hey, I think this will work?
We're a bit of a fly by the seat of our pants company. Not that data can't be helpful. Don't get me wrong. But when you start having to pay some of the big dollars to go out and get the opinions of folks that are they really invested in that actual market study or not? Whereas Jill and I would work country music festivals and we'd be there 4 days straight and we'd talk to 20,000 people. And I'm like, I feel like we have as good of a pulse on the drinking scene and on the alcohol industry as anyone because we're seeing it every day and talking to the actual people. So for us, it was more just looking at it like, hey, Mom Water filled a gap in the industry. And we feel like our teas are going to do the same thing. Like people that like Mom Water so far love the teas because they're just a slight different, little more flavor because they taste like an unsweet tea. But people that don't like Mom Water actually like the unsweet teas. And so we think that, and going back to my wine example, there's a reason you got semi-sweet and semi-dry wines. They're a bridge to get you from sweet to dry. Most people don't just go from drinking straight sweet wine to going, give me a nice Cabernet. They work at it over time. We think our unsweetened teas are going to be more that semi-sweet, semi-dry, where it's like, if you want to move from a really sweet RTD to Mom Water, we would suggest try the teas first because they're going to make sense to you.
Okay. So since you started Mom Water, have you received any offers to buy the company?
Yeah, I'll say not official, but we've had interested parties that have called us won't name them, but companies everyone's heard of.
And buy is a strong word. There have been like maybe more partner or help. Can we help you with
joint venture
ventures type things versus purchase?
Yeah. And really for us, it was never, we're still enjoying what we do. And we have friends and family that are all part of the team. And we've always said, we don't want to make decisions that just benefit Bryce and Jill. We want to make decisions that are the best as much as we can for the team, because they've helped us grow it and get it to the point that it is. It's not just us that's doing this. So we've been very protective of that over the years. And, not that in the future, we don't know what the future holds. And at some point, this industry is so crazy that it might be a requirement to continue to grow. But we've had a few here and there. We've had those meetings, and we were kind of upfront at the time, said, hey, not interested now, but we're just learning. We're in the learning phase.
Got it. So it's the two of you and your first investor, who's a friend, and that's it.
That's it.
Okay.
We've been able to use community banks and other banking just to get us to this point.
However you define growth, I mean, what do you think your potential is here in the next 3 or 5 years?
It's so hard to answer. I think our potential is, I think the sky's the limit. I think we can be the uncarbonate high noon, because if you look at all the trends across the alcohol industry, they were all beer. And then these canned things started popping up that were still beer, but they didn't taste like beer, which were seltzers, right? And then it went, well, those are great, but the taste isn't the best. So then people started making them with vodka. And then people said, well, I like these things, but I'm kind of tired of the carbonation. So then you start seeing all these uncarbonated drinks come up, and that's the big popular. There's only one other evolution that could possibly happen, and that is to start to strip out some of the sweetener. And that's really what we are, right? Is again, going back to the dry wine, once you make it there, you don't go back. Once you get away from sodas and you start drinking water, it's really hard to get back to sodas. That's kind of what we are. So I still think we're early for the market. And I think we could be a multi-million case brand easily. Now, will it happen? Hey, we don't know. It's such a crazy industry. You just don't know what's going to work. But we think our teas are going to be a big deal this year. We're really proud of them. And every time we do new mom water flavors, they get better and better. And people will see that. And we already have the next couple of years lined up of innovations and evolutions of what we're going to be doing. So we're ahead of the game. We know what's coming, and just our initial brand, we have so much runway left. I mean, we have major markets we haven't opened, and sky's the limit.
We still have people in Indiana that don't know.
Yeah, there's still a lot of people in Indiana that don't know about mom water. So
our staff just did an event at the Pacers at Gamebridge Fieldhouse 2 weekends ago, and had people coming up saying they'd never had mom water. I'm like, but it's Indiana. We've been here for how many years now? And they'd never had it, never heard of it. I'm like, yeah, to your point, the runway is.
The scale of the market is hard to comprehend for even us being in it. It really is. We feel like, wow, we probably saturated Indiana, right? No, we're not even a 1%. Probably, we're probably maybe have reached less than 10% of the population know about us.
So last year, how many cans was it, or how many what is the word? Cartons?
Cases.
Yeah.
Right around 900. It was over 900,000. It was like 925,000 cases.
Cases. Okay. And that's for both the dad and the mom.
Yes.
Okay. And then
majority mom, that was still a very small percent.
Okay. And then you're hoping a little bit over 1 million this year.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We have we think like most of our goals are a little over 1 million, but we think you never know. The teas could be very volatile in a good way. Just because you just don't know. When a new product hits, it could do okay. It could completely fail, or it can like take your brand to heights that you didn't know that it could. We feel like, we feel pretty good about it at this point, just because of all the feedback we've got from presenting to major companies like Target and Walmart and all of our distributors nationally. Like, we've had a lot of feedback at this point. It's just started to hit the market in some of those states, like in the last week. So, but even that, we're already starting to see reorders and some of these things happen. So we feel very good about it. But hey, time will tell. It's the alcohol industry. It's crazy.
So one last question for both of you. Like, what is the most fun thing about being in business for yourself, or just thinking about what you do every day that is most enjoyable, that you look forward to?
I look forward to events and interacting with people, despite my, I'm an introvert And it's scary and exciting at the same time.
So you have a couple of mom waters, then she's me.
They usually we start the event and they hand me a drink, and after 1 or 2, I'm good to go.
She's fine. I can't shut her up. It has to do with the people, like starting with our employees. It's become family. Everyone, whether you're a family member or not at this point, we care about you. We care about your career. We've told people before, if you find something better out there, we'll be the first ones to help you. We want you to, further you and your family, because we take it very serious. So, but the fans are wild. I mean, we've gotten well over 100 at this point, like wedding invites.
I didn't even know that was a thing until a few years ago. I was like, who are these people inviting us to their wedding?
We've had college grads thanking us for helping get them through college. Like, we're like, oh my God. So the stuff that we get on a daily basis is so fun. Our fans are amazing. We've done some our partner did a wedding crash. We actually showed up to one. It's wild. And every time that we get to see someone that they find out that like, hey, we're Mom Water. They just almost like can't believe it, because again, there's no faces to these other brands. And we actually like to get out and still work events and get our hands dirty. Like, that's part of the fun for us. And so it's that keeps us going every day, of hearing stories from, hey, somebody saw my car today, one of our reps, and they're like, they talked to me like an hour about Mom Water, how fun it is. Or when we see a celebrity or something that might like one of our posts or follows us, or, maybe reaches out via email, like, it's really, really cool. Like, all of just the networking and connectivity is awesome.
That's great. Well, I will let you guys get back to work, but thanks so much for filling me in on the story. This is really one of the great, literally mom and dad or mom and pop stories in Indiana business.
It is. Thank you very much. We always appreciate any opportunity to talk to you.
My thanks again to Jill and Bryce Morrison. And folks, before you get on to the rest of your week, there are a few stories in this week's edition of IBJ I want to draw to your attention. First up, owners of independent music venues are pulling back the curtain and speaking candidly about their financial struggles. IBJ's Dave Lindquist reports that the move is intended to give audiences a chance to support small stages before it's too late. Also in this week's issue, Taylor Wooten recounts what happened to proposed state legislation that would have usurped Indy's billboard regulations. And Lindquist also shares a peek at items from Jim Irsay's massive pop culture memorabilia collection that soon will be auctioned. And again, you can find these stories in the latest print edition of IBJ or online at IBJ.com. I will say, it is quite a bit easier to access all the latest business news and all of IBJ's data on Central Indiana's business community and economy if you're a subscriber. We're running a promotion right now that gives you complete access for $1 per week for 3 months, just to get a sense of how valuable and original our content is. Just go to IBJ.com and click on the subscribe button. And thanks again for making time this week for the IBJ Podcast. I'm Mason King. Hang in there, everybody. We'll be back again next week.
Off the Record with Indiana's 250 most influential business and community leaders is a podcast that peels back the curtain on Indiana's most respected leaders, one episode at a time. Go beyond the headlines and hear the stories of grit and innovation that shape these leaders. Do you want to know who's driving our state forward? This is a must listen. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts or at IBJpodcast.com.
The IBJ Media Podcast Network is the soundtrack of a growing state. Indiana is on the move, and you can hear it happening on the IBJ Media Podcast Network. We bring you the voices at the center of our economy, our courts, our companies, and our communities. Subscribe now and be part of the conversation that's building Indiana's future. Find all of our shows by searching IBJ Media in your podcast app or visit IBJpodcasts.com.